The night was quiet. Too quiet for downtown Los Angeles. A soft drizzle painted silver streaks on the black pavement as a lone figure walked across the dimly lit parking lot. The hum of distant traffic echoed faintly, but here, it was just him, his footsteps, and the silence that followed. Keanu Reeves. Wearing a black jacket, jeans, and a motorcycle helmet tucked under his arm, he looked like any ordinary man wrapping up a long day. No security. No entourage, just calm. Solitude. He reached his bike, placed the helmet on the seat, then paused. Something didn't feel right. From behind the concrete pillars, faint whispers drifted. A laugh, the metallic click of a lighter. Keanu turned his head slightly. Not enough to alarm, just enough to confirm. 10 men emerged slowly from the shadows. Leather jackets. Cigarette smoke. The kind of arrogance born from strength in numbers. "Hey, old man," one of them sneered. "Nice bike." "Looks expensive." Keanu didn't answer. His gaze stayed still, unreadable. Another stepped forward, circling. "What's in the bag, huh?" "You look like money. Maybe you share some with the rest of us." The others chuckled. Low, mocking laughter that filled the air with tension. Keanu's tone was calm, almost polite. "You don't want to do this," the leader grinned. "Oh, I really do." He flicked his cigarette, the spark landing inches from Keanu's boots. The sound echoed louder than it should have. The air thickened. Every small movement, a glance, a breath, felt amplified. Keanu finally lifted his head, eyes meeting the man's directly. There was no fear there, no anger. Just something deeper, a silent warning wrapped in stillness. He slowly placed his helmet back on the bike and whispered, barely audible, "There's no wrong night. Just wrong choices." The leader frowned. "What the hell does that mean?" The drizzle turned into rain. The parking lot lights flickered. And before anyone could move, Keanu stepped forward. What happened next became the moment that defined him. Rain whispered against the pavement, puddles rippling beneath the pale orange glow of the streetlights. The 10 men began closing in, forming a loose circle around Keanu. Their shoes splashed softly with each step, their smirks widening with confidence. "Look at him," one said. "Doesn't even flinch," another laughed. Maybe he's too scared to move, but Keanu wasn't scared. He was reading them, the weight of their stances, the twitch in their hands, the distance between each man. Every detail was quietly registered. He'd seen danger before, but this was different. It wasn't a fight. It was a test of patience, of restraint, of what kind of man he still was. The leader stepped forward, swaggering. "You think you're tough? Give us the keys, old man. Walk away and maybe we let you keep your teeth." Keanu's voice came out steady. "You don't need to prove anything tonight." The man laughed. "You hear that, boys? We got a philosopher." He shoved Keanu's shoulder, hard. Keanu didn't react. Didn't even blink. His stillness made them uneasy. The laughter faded slightly. The leader shoved him again, louder this time. "Say something, tough guy." Keanu tilted his head, meeting his eyes, calm, unshaken. "I did. You just weren't listening." Something in that line hit differently. The circle grew quieter. Raindrops filled the pause. Then from behind, a younger one, nervous, trying to impress the others, lunged forward and grabbed Keanu's jacket. In a single motion, Keanu turned, twisting the man's arm downward with such control it looked effortless. A sharp thud. The man hit the ground, gasping. The others froze. Keanu released him gently and stepped back. "Don't make me hurt you." That tone, firm but composed, rattled them more than shouting ever could. The leader's jaw tightened. He spat on the ground, pretending confidence he didn't feel. "You think you're some kind of hero?" Keanu looked at him, rain dripping from his hair, the soft gleam of streetlight reflected in his eyes. "No, just a man who doesn't like being cornered." For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then the leader barked, "Get him!" The group tensed, fists tightening. The circle shrank. The air felt electric, one spark away from chaos. But Keanu just exhaled, slow, deliberate. Every muscle in his body relaxed into readiness. His eyes scanned, calm as the ocean before a storm. Have you ever seen someone so calm under pressure it gave you chills? Comment yes if you have. As the first punch flew through the rain, Keanu stepped aside. The storm had begun. The first punch sliced through the rain. Keanu moved like he saw it coming a lifetime ago. A sidestep, a pivot, and the attacker's momentum carried him face first into a concrete pillar. The impact echoed across the parking lot, thud, followed by stunned silence. Keanu didn't chase, didn't strike back in fury. He simply turned, fluid and centered, eyes scanning for the next move. Another man charged, yelling, swinging wildly. Keanu ducked low, grabbed the man's wrist, and swept his leg with surgical precision. The attacker dropped to the wet ground, breathless, 2 down. 8 watching. For a brief second, no one moved. Rain pattered louder, like the sky was keeping rhythm with the fight. Then chaos erupted. 3 men lunged at once. 1 from the front, 2 from the sides. Keanu turned with seamless flow, blocking a punch, redirecting another's arm, then striking with open hands, not fists. Every motion had a purpose. Every sound, not a grunt, a footstep, a splash, felt choreographed yet real. It wasn't violence. It was control. A dance between danger and discipline. The leader roared, "Get him, damn it!" But even he hesitated as Keanu grabbed a nearby trash bin lid and used it as a shield. A kick sent it spinning into one attacker's knees, and he fell instantly. Another swung a chain. Keanu dodged, the chain slicing air inches from his face, then wrapped it around the man's arm and yanked. The man stumbled, howling in pain. By now, phones were recording. From across the street, people had gathered under awnings, watching in disbelief as one man handled 10 like a storm handles leaves. Through it all, Keanu's expression never changed. Focused, measured, compassionate even in combat. He caught one man by the collar and whispered, "Walk away before you regret it." The man froze, eyes wide, then backed off. Even amid chaos, Keanu gave them an out. That's what made it powerful. His restraint spoke louder than his strength. One of the younger attackers, drenched and trembling, shouted, "Who are you?" Keanu's reply was quiet, almost carried away by the rain. Just someone trying to stay peaceful in a violent world. Another swing. Another takedown. Bodies sprawled, groaning, defeated, but not broken. Keanu never hit to harm, only to stop. And when the last one staggered to his feet, clutching his bruised ribs, Keanu didn't raise a hand. He simply stood there, breathing slow, letting the silence return. Steam rose from the wet asphalt, the rain easing into mist. If you were standing there as a bystander, would you step in or just watch? Tell us in the comments. The camera phones captured everything. Not just the fight, but the way he carried himself after it. Calm, grounded, unmoved by victory. The storm was over. But something in the air said, this wasn't the end. The rain had softened to a mist, a fine haze drifting through the glow of the streetlights. The echoes of the fight still hung in the air. The heavy breathing, the faint groans of the defeated. Keanu stood in the center of it all, motionless. Water trickled down his hair, down his jacket, but his expression remained calm, neither proud nor angry. Just steady. Around the edges of the parking lot, bystanders began to step closer. Some were hesitant, clutching their phones, their cameras still rolling. Others whispered, their voices low, disbelieving. "Did you see that?" One guy took out all of them. He didn't even look angry. And then among the crowd, a teenage boy, maybe 16, squinted, his phone still filming. He zoomed in, wiped the raindrops from his lens, and whispered, "Wait, I know that face." His friend glanced at the screen. "Who?" The boy's eyes widened. "That's Keanu Reeves." The words seemed to hang in the air, soft, almost unsure, but they carried. People turned. Murmurs spread. Did he say Keanu Reeves? No way. It is him. Within seconds, the tension shifted. The fear that had gripped the crowd moments ago transformed into awe, disbelief, and admiration. Phones lifted higher now, not out of fear, but reverence. Across the scene, the attackers stirred. A few, still on the ground, looked up, realization dawning slowly. Their leader, clutching his jaw, blinked through the rain, staring at the man he'd just threatened. "You're kidding me," he muttered. "That's Keanu Reeves?" Keanu didn't respond. He didn't smirk, didn't gloat. He simply walked toward his motorcycle, calm and composed as though nothing unusual had happened. The teen called out, voice trembling with excitement, "Mr. Reeves! Are you okay?" Keanu glanced back, offering a faint smile. "I'm fine, kid. Don't worry." The crowd grew bolder now, people whispering, "That's really him. He actually fought those guys and he didn't even get angry." But what truly silenced everyone wasn't his fame. It was how he handled it. No boasting, no anger, no lecture. Just grace. A woman near the front spoke softly, almost to herself. He could have hurt them all so bad, but he didn't. Keanu heard her. He looked at the fallen men, drenched, humiliated but alive, and said quietly, "Violence only wins when you let it change who you are." His voice carried through the quiet like a lesson no one expected to hear tonight. Even the attackers couldn't look him in the eye anymore. The teen who first recognized him turned to his phone, whispering to the camera. He didn't fight to show off. He fought to stay human. The video was already uploading, streaming live, views climbing even before Keanu left the lot. He put on his helmet, swung a leg over his motorcycle, and started the engine. But before riding off, he looked at the crowd one last time. His eyes, calm, grounded, met theirs, and he said only this: "Be kind, even when no one's watching." The bike roared softly, tires slicing through puddles as he disappeared into the night. The crowd stood there in silence, rain mixing with the weight of what they'd just witnessed. That night, everyone in that parking lot knew. They hadn't just seen a fight. They'd seen a man's character revealed in motion. The parking lot was almost empty now. The rain had slowed to a faint drizzle, and the crowd, and still buzzing with disbelief, began to disperse, some whispering, some filming their final clips before leaving. But Keanu didn't move yet. He sat on his motorcycle, one hand resting lightly on the handlebar, staring ahead, thoughtful, almost burdened by the silence. Behind him, the defeated group of men lingered, nursing their bruises and pride. The leader, the same man who had thrown the first insult, stumbled to his feet, wiping a mix of rain and blood from his mouth. "You think you're better than us?" he spat out, voice hoarse, trembling with humiliation. "You could have killed us. Why didn't you?" Keanu turned his head slightly but didn't answer right away. His eyes, calm and unreadable, found the man's. "Because I don't fight to destroy," he said quietly. "I fight to stop destruction." The man frowned, confused. Keanu continued, his voice steady, low, the kind that silences even the angriest hearts. "You wanted to prove you were strong, but strength isn't what you think it is." He took a slow breath. Real strength is standing in front of 10 people who hate you and still refusing to hate them back. The words hung in the air like something sacred. The other men looked at each other, shame flickering across their faces. Even the crowd, a few still recording, went silent. Keanu stood up, taking off his gloves, letting them hang from his hand. The rain had nearly stopped. The world seemed to pause with him. He walked toward the leader, not in anger, but with calm authority. Each step echoed in the empty lot. The man instinctively stepped back, not from fear, but from respect he didn't understand yet. Keanu stopped in front of him. "You saw me alone and thought I was weak. You saw kindness and mistook it for softness. That's the mistake people keep making." He glanced briefly at the onlookers, the phones, the faces, the quiet. "The world doesn't need more fighters," he said. "It needs more men who know when not to fight." For a moment, even the air seemed to hold still. The leader's lip trembled. His friends looked away, unable to meet Keanu's gaze. One of them muttered under his breath, "We didn't know who you were." Keanu gave a faint smile, not proud, not forgiving, just human. You don't need to know who someone is to treat them with respect. It was that line, soft, sincere, almost whispered, that broke through the noise. The crowd that had stayed began clapping quietly. A few even teared up. The attackers stood frozen, processing what had just happened. Not just the fight, but the lesson they never expected to receive from the man they tried to humiliate. The leader looked down, voice cracking. "We were wrong." Keanu nodded slightly, then learned from it. He turned to leave, his jacket dripping, his steps slow and certain. Behind him, the applause grew louder, not the kind meant for a celebrity, but the kind given to a man who reminded everyone what dignity looks like. Jinky wasn't there. No cameras, no red carpets. Just a man, a storm, and a truth that burned brighter than the lights around him. As Keanu reached his motorcycle again, he paused, looking back one last time. The group of men stood together, not as enemies now, but as people changed, humbled by grace, not defeat. "We all make mistakes," he said softly, "but not everyone gets a second chance to fix them." He started his bike, the low rumble breaking the silence. Then, with one last look at the night sky, he rode off, disappearing into the rain, leaving only the sound of his engine and a lesson that would live far longer than any fight. That night, Keanu didn't just win a battle. He restored something far greater. Faith in calmness. Faith in humility. Faith that strength can exist without cruelty. The rain had finally stopped. Only the sound of dripping water and distant sirens remained. The crowd still lingered, some whispering, others in stunned silence, as Keanu Reeves stood beside his motorcycle, ready to leave the scene. But flashing red and blue lights suddenly painted the pavement. A police cruiser pulled up, tires hissing over wet asphalt. 2 officers stepped out, one younger, eager, hand already on his holster. The other older, calm, assessing the scene with a trained eye. The younger cop, Officer Daniels, had barked, "Nobody move!" What's going on here? The leader of the thugs, still sore and humiliated, saw a chance to save face. He raised a shaky hand and pointed. "That's him!"
He attacked us.
Daniels immediately turned toward Keanu, posture shifting into aggression.
"Sir, step away from the vehicle."
Hands where I can see them. The crowd gasped. Someone shouted, "He didn't do anything." They attacked him. But Daniels wasn't listening, his voice sharp, commanding, fueled by adrenaline. "Now, sir," I said, hands up. Keanu didn't flinch. He raised his hands slowly, calmly, the same poise he'd kept all night. His voice was steady. "Officer, you've got this backwards." "I'm not the one who started it," Daniels sneered. "Yeah, sure. That's what they all say." He took a step closer, hand hovering over his gun. "You're coming with us till we sort this out." Before Keanu could reply, the older officer, Sergeant Hughes, stepped forward, scanning the faces in the crowd. He noticed the phones recording, the bruised gang members, the calm man standing alone. Then his eyes landed on Keanu's face. He froze. His expression softened instantly. "Wait a second." Daniels frowned. "What?" Hughes blinked as if trying to make sure. "Daniels, put your hand down." Daniels hesitated. "Why?" That's Keanu Reeves." The words hit like thunder. The crowd murmured, some relieved, others proud. Daniels looked confused. "Who?" Hughes sighed, shaking his head slightly. "John Wick, Daniels. That's Keanu Reeves. The man who's probably saved more people on screen than you've met in your life." For a brief moment, even Daniels looked embarrassed. His hand dropped from his holster. "You're serious?" Keanu gave a faint smile, trying to ease the tension. "I'm serious too, officer. I didn't want trouble tonight." Hughes nodded. "I believe you, Mr. Reeves. We've already got witness statements rolling in." He turned toward the group of attackers, now silent and trembling. "You boys should be lucky you're still standing." One of them muttered, "We didn't know who he was." Hughes's voice sharpened. "That's exactly the problem. You shouldn't need to know who someone is to treat them with decency." The line landed hard. Even Daniels lowered his head, realizing what just happened. The cameras caught every second. Hughes approached Keanu respectfully. "You handled this better than most people ever could. No charges against you, and we'll take care of the rest." Keanu nodded. "Thank you, Sergeant. Just make sure they learn something from this." The officer studied him for a moment, then smiled faintly. "You already taught them more than I ever could." Daniels, visibly ashamed, tried to explain himself. I didn't mean to sound hostile, sir. Just doing my job." Keanu looked at him with the same calm empathy he'd shown everyone else. "I know, just remember, power's not about control. It's about restraint." That sentence echoed louder than the police radio. Several bystanders nodded. Someone clapped softly. Hughes turned to the group of thugs again. "You boys are lucky he's not pressing charges. Now get out of here before you make another bad decision." They stumbled away one by one, defeated, not by fists, but by dignity. Keanu looked back at the crowd, his wet hair catching the red and blue reflections. "Don't let anger be the thing that defines you," he said quietly. "Let how you rise above it be." The line spread like wildfire through the phones that were still streaming. People who hadn't even been there started sharing it within minutes. As Keanu mounted his motorcycle, Hughes called out, "You really live what you preach, huh?" Keanu smiled beneath his helmet. "Trying to." He started the engine. The roar cut through the night, powerful but calm, just like him. He gave a final nod to the officers, then to the people who had witnessed more than a fight that night. They'd witnessed character. As he rode off, the lights of the police cruiser faded behind him. And somewhere online, the first caption appeared beneath a shaky video of the incident. The clip spread in minutes, racing across platforms, across time zones, across hearts, and by morning, millions would see the truth that respect, restraint, and grace can disarm more than any weapon ever could. By dawn, Los Angeles was awake, but something else was stirring before the sun had fully risen. The video, a shaky, rain-soaked clip of one man standing against 10, not with rage, but with grace. The title beneath it read, "Keanu Reeves stops 10 attackers without losing his calm." In the first hour, it had 10,000 views. By sunrise, 1,000,000. By noon, the world was watching. Every frame of that night replayed across screens. Keanu's calm expression, the way he moved with precision the moment he said, "Real strength is standing in front of hate and refusing to hate back." It wasn't just a fight anymore. It was philosophy in motion. Clips flooded social media. News anchors, influencers, and even psychologists dissected every second of his composure. Talk shows called it a masterclass in emotional control. One commentator said, "Keanu didn't defeat 10 men. He defeated ego, Mike, and that's rarer." People began quoting him everywhere. "Don't let anger define you. Power isn't control, it's restraint." His words spread faster than any blockbuster premiere ever had. Meanwhile, Keanu stayed quiet. No interviews, no press statements. He was seen the next day having coffee at a small diner, alone in his usual jeans and black boots, smiling politely at the waitress. When a fan approached to thank him, he simply said, "I didn't do anything special. I just didn't want hate to win." But the world didn't agree. Hashtags trended globally. Even the police department released a statement acknowledging the event. Sergeant Hughes wrote publicly, "Sometimes we meet people who remind us that authority isn't loud. It's silent strength. Mr. Reeves showed us that." Officer Daniels, the one who had nearly drawn his gun, reportedly requested to meet Keanu later, to apologize in person. When they met, Keanu shook his hand and said, "Don't apologize. Just learn. That's how we all move forward." Across continents, people resonated with the story. In classrooms, teachers played the video to talk about humility and composure. In corporate meetings, leaders quoted his lines about restraint. Even in conflict zones, activists shared the clip as a symbol of courage without cruelty. One viral tweet summed it up. 10 enemies attacked him, and he still chose peace. That's not weakness, that's mastery. Later that week, Keanu finally spoke publicly, not through a press conference, not through an agent, just a simple post on his verified account. It read, "I'm not proud of what happened. I'm grateful no one got seriously hurt. But it reminded me of something we forget too often. No one should be judged by how loud they shout or how hard they strike. Judge people by how calm they stay when the world tests them." Within hours, the post had millions of likes. Thousands commented, sharing their own stories of restraint, moments they'd chosen to walk away instead of fight back. It became a digital movement. People began typing one word in unison across platforms, echoing his final message from that night. A week later, a journalist caught up with him on a film set. When asked if he realized he'd started a global movement, Keanu smiled lightly. "I didn't start anything," he said. "The world's just hungry for kindness. I just reminded them it still exists." The journalist pressed, "And those 10 men, do you forgive them?" He nodded slowly. "Yes, because forgiveness is how you end the cycle. Otherwise, you're just another part of it." That line became the headline everywhere. Keanu Reeves, "Forgiveness ends the cycle." Months later, the original video had crossed 100 million views. The men who attacked him publicly apologized, saying his mercy changed their lives. They'd started volunteering at a local community center, teaching self-defense and respect to underprivileged teens. When a reporter asked why, their leader said simply, "Because the man we tried to hurt showed us who we really were, and that's how it ended." Not with police sirens, not with fame, but with redemption when born from humility. That rainy night in a parking lot became more than an altercation. It became a mirror, reflecting the world's thirst for decency in a time drowning in noise. And when people replayed that final clip, Keanu's calm face under the rain, whispering, "Be kind even when no one's watching," they didn't just see an actor. They saw a man living his truth.